Welcome friends to Farm Fresh Designs 59. In today's video, I'm going to be using some of the products from the new 2024 IOD Summer Release, and I'm so excited to share them with you. So let's get started. So my first project is this thrifted frame up at the top of the screen, and I'm going to be using the new IOD Summer Release Felicite mold, and it's the one that has all the beautiful deep roses. So I put cornstarch in my mold, and I'm using my DOS air dry clay. And you just kind of spread it around with your thumb. But one of the things that that I like to do is I like to take like an old credit card or an old gift card and just smooth it out at the bottom. And I don't want to fill the frame completely with molds, so I make several of those roses, and I want to make sure that I use one that has the different leaves in it. But this is a real versatile mold, and I know that I'll be using it a lot. And if you are needing any of the IOD Summer Release projects, I'm going to share a link with you in the description box below for Decoupage Central, and that's a place where you can get all of your IOD, and you can find beautiful decoupage paper there as well. So I'm putting them on with Tight Bond Thick and Quick, and it sets up really fast, and it has a great hold to it. And I'm just going to put them up in the corner around, like down one side and up at the top. And if you've watched my channel before, that I like to go ahead and begin painting my molds about 10 to 15 minutes after I put them on, because it really does help reduce with the cracking of the air dry clay. But because I use that cornstarch in the mold, I like to use a really, really soft bristle brush and kind of dust off the cornstarch before I begin to paint them. And then this brush that I'm using is super soft, and when I kind of pat that paint onto that rose, then I do it very delicately so that it doesn't destroy any of the design in that clay. And because I'm not going to be putting anything else onto that frame, then I don't try to put slick stick or anything else, because I'm just going to go ahead and paint the whole frame. And I use Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and I get that at Walmart, and it comes in like a little quart, so it's pretty good buy for those base colors that you might be using. Now this frame has like a little dip right around the edges, so I just put paint right down in there so you don't really see it, but I did not fill it in. And this is the new IOD Summer Release, and this stamp is called Ephemeral Type. And I know that we are all going to be using it a lot. It's so perfect. It's got a lot of different types on it, and it also has some smaller script. So this is actually just the cardboard backing of that picture frame, so I just painted it white. And then I'm stamping it with IOD black ink. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of the transfers from the new summer release called Rose Botanical. Now, before I actually put it on, I took it outside and I sprayed it with Rust-Oleum clear sealer so that I knew that transfer would go on real well. So this is the Waverly Crimson paint, because I'm going to paint those roses. It's been about a day or so since they've dried, and so that white paint that's on it is not going to mix in with the red. And I just carefully go all around, and I just kind of dab at it until I'm happy with it. But I don't try to cover it completely, because I'm going to actually go back with the baby wipe and kind of wipe off some of that red so it's just not, right in your face. And then I'm going to be using Waverly chalk paint in the color Moss. And then for the center of some of the little flowers, I'm using the Dixie Belle Rebel Yellow, which is a lighter yellow. And I just finish off all the flowers just in that one area. So now I've got that cardboard backing in it, but I've waited until now to put the transfer on because I want to make sure I get it in just the right spot. And then I use the transfer tool that they provide, and you just rub all over it, and then I like to go back and pick up at the beginning, and then I just keep rubbing, and that just helps to ensure that that transfer is on it really good. And then once you get it on, you'll use that plastic backing sheet and you'll just gently rub over it. And that just pulls out any of the bubbles that may have been on it. And they call that burnishing it. And then I felt like the roses were still a little bit stark, so I just used some Dixie Belle white wax and went over them and kind of softened up those roses just a little bit. And this is how it turned out. And it's just a pretty little sign, and it used 3 of the different projects, or the different products. It used the Ephemeral Type stamp, it used the Rose Botanical transfer, and it used that new mold called Felicite. So what do you think about this? And if you'll look closely, that cardboard that I used to stamp and then put that transfer on, I really like that corrugated cardboard that's underneath because I think it adds just a little bit of extra detail. So if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel and become part of our family. Now, this next project is just a little crate that I thrifted, and it is not made out of wood. I think it's actually made out of more of a heavy MDF or something. And it had some, spots on it. And so I just went back and I just painted it with Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint because I wanted to have a good base on it before I did anything else. And I'm using the IOD new stamp called Garden Bouquet, and I'm using the sunflowers. So I put it on a thin mount, and then I use the ink to stamp it, and then I like to go around all of the edges just to make sure there's no little extra ink on the edges, and then just lay it down on your project, and then I use this little tool, and then you just pull it straight up. Now I know that there's going to be some gaps in it where the little slats are in the crate, and I'm totally okay with that. And I always like to stamp a little bit on the side, and I'll stamp toward the back of one side, and then on the other one I'll just stamp toward the front of it, but just a little bit to add interest. So I was actually gonna put watercolors on it, so when I reached to get my watercolors, I found this chalk, so I thought, I think I'll just try this. So I started using this chalk on it, and it was actually a lot of fun. So I just I just chalked it on all of the petals, and then I went back with the green, I believe, and put it on the leaves. And I did that on both sides of it as well. So it's a really simple little crate that I think it just adds a lot of pop to it that you can put on a table, maybe put a floral in it, or you could set this in your bathroom and put some different bottles in it, maybe with some little flowers in it, or it could be something that you could put your cosmetics in. And then actually, to finish it off, to make sure that that chalk stays on there, I actually just sprayed it with hairspray, and that seals that chalk on it. But before I did that, I also took out the IOD Vintage Textures, and I went all around the whole box on the outside, and that just adds just a little different layer to it, and it doesn't make it quite so stark white, and it makes it just a little bit more rustic. So what do you think of this quick and easy project using just a stamp and a little bit of chalk? And I just think it makes for a lovely crate to sit, anywhere. You could even sit it on a small table, and you could put this beside your recliner and put your remote control in it, or, maybe like a little pencil and pad. But it's a quick and easy project, and I think it just turned out beautiful. So what do you think of this? And also, because this is not made out of wood, this is not something I would be sitting outside, but it would be something that you could put on a sun porch or on a covered porch. But this would not hold up out in the open weather. Now, my last little piece is just a little piece, and I really can't remember where I bought this shape at. I may have bought it at Hobby Lobby. And I'm painting it with Rust-Oleum Chiffon Cream. But I love the shape of this little piece of wood. Now, this time, I'm going to be using a piece of decoupage paper that I get from Decoupage Central, and I'll make sure to put that link in the description box below. But I love this paper. It's got 4 pretty little girls on it, and it's more of a fall paper, and I love the way they're dressed, and they have on little hats, and so I just take one of it and I tear it off. You can also use a water pen to tear around those edges, or you could use just a paintbrush and dip it into water. And then I just tear around all those edges because I don't like to cut it. I like it to be look more organic and be torn. So I put that on with Mod Podge, and I just start with a little bit up at the top, and when I lay it down, I use a little piece of cellophane wrap to kind of smooth over it to get any little bubbles out. And then I just work my way down until I get to the very bottom. But decoupage paper, it holds up so much better than napkins. So you still want to kind of press it down, but I rarely get any bubbles with my decoupage paper. And when I'm using that cellophane wrap, I don't push down on it real hard either. It's just a really gentle touch. Now I'm going to go back with my stamp, the Ephemeral Type, and I just use some different pieces on it, and I just stamp it and put it on to all the sides. And then there's one little part of this stamp that looks like a little teeny swag that I put right up above that decoupage paper, and it just adds a little bit of extra interest above it without putting script on it. But if you have not got this stamp, oh, this is definitely a go-to stamp that I know a lot of us will be using a lot these days because it's also just a new script. And what I love about it is it's got a lot of little pieces to it that you can fit in anywhere. But I love the way that this turned out. And the ink that I'm using is actually IOD Stone Gray ink because I like the color of it, and it's just not quite so bold. But this stamp set has some little actual stamps on it, and it's got some script, and it's just perfect. And I hope you've gotten this stamp, but if you haven't, this is definitely one of those things that you might want to invest in. Now I take some crocheted ribbon and I'm going to make a little hanger, but before I do that, I'm going to make a little bow to put up in the corner, and I start out using my mini bow dabra, and you put a little piece of lace that goes up and down, and then the different laces that you use, you put those sideways. You can just make the loops that you want, and I start out with eyelash yarn, and then I put just some like beige ribbon, and then I put a little bit of crocheted ribbon, and then I put a little bit of silk ribbon that's got some polka dots on it. Then you pull that, push it down with that little tool, and then you pull that crocheted string up and just tie a couple knots in it, and then you're done. You are good to go. And then I add it with hot glue right there in the center, and I fluff it up a little bit, and then I put like a pretty little button in the middle, and then I'm done. And it is such a pretty little sign. So what do you think? But look at her face. She is so, so pretty. And that decoupage paper has 4 beautiful little girls on it. So you can use it a lot in your fall projects as the cooler weather gets a little bit closer. So friends, we are already at the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed the projects today, and I hope I've inspired you to pull out your new IOD products that you've gotten. And if you haven't picked up any of them, make sure to go to Decoupage Central and get any of those products that you haven't gotten. Especially as you see other people using them, you think, oh my goodness, why did I not get that one? The products this summer are so wonderful, and I'm so excited about using all of them in the weeks to come. So in the comments below, let me know which is your favorite. And also let me know which products did you buy with this new release. And well, if you know me, you know I went on and got them all because I really like all of the different pieces that they put out this summer. So in the weeks to come, I've got some great ideas to share with you with these new summer release pieces. So if you enjoyed the video today, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video. I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much, friends.